So let's dive into the story of a military genius you probably never heard of. I mean, this is a man who conquered the Himalayas and earned the incredible title, the Napoleon of India. We're going to explore the absolutely fascinating life and legacy of General Zorawar Singh. But you know what? To really get his story, we have to start with something happening right now. The Indian Army has this brand new light tank. It's built for one thing, fighting in the most extreme, high-altitude conditions you can imagine, places like Ladakh. And its name? You guessed it, the Zorawar. And that really gets to the heart of it, right? Why would you name your most advanced piece of mountain warfare tech after a general from the 1800s? Well, the answer to that question is just an unbelievable story of conquest, of brilliant strategy, and just sheer guts, all at the top of the world. Okay, so to understand the man, we've got to go all the way back to his beginnings. And for a guy who would end up achieving so much, his start in life was surprisingly humble. Just look at this timeline for a second. It shows a truly meteoric rise. Born in 1784, Zorawar Singh wasn't some nobleman, but his talent, it was just undeniable. He joins the army, and within just a few years, people realize he's not just a great fighter, he's a brilliant administrator. So they make him a governor, and it's from that position of trust that he's handed his first huge military challenge. And this, right here, is where the legend really kicks into high gear. We're about to see how Zorawar Singh built an entire empire in some of the most brutal, unforgiving terrain on the planet, a place where the cold and the altitude are just as deadly as any army. So, his first major target was Ladakh, back in 1834. Now, this wasn't just some land grab. No, this was all about economics. If you controlled Ladakh, you controlled the incredibly valuable Pashmina wool trade. We're talking about a source of massive wealth for the entire region. And here's where you see his genius. First off, he leads his army to altitudes where just breathing is a full-time job. At the crucial Battle of Senko, he doesn't just charge. He pulls off this incredible flanking maneuver through terrain the defenders thought was totally impassable. But the real masterstroke was what he did after the battle. He told his soldiers, no looting. This was brilliant, because it meant the local people didn't turn on him, which kept his supply lines safe. It was this perfect mix of military might and smart politics. So, after Ladakh, you'd think he'd take a break, right? Nope. He set his sights even higher. The 1840 campaign into Baltistan meant his army had to cross the Karakoram mountain range. I mean, that is an almost unbelievable feat of logistics and pure human endurance for that time. The audacity here is just staggering. Get this, his army crossed the Indus River when it was frozen solid. He literally used the brutal winter weather as a weapon of surprise. Then he lays siege to Skardu Fort, a place everyone called impregnable. And how did he take it? Not with some bloody frontal assault. He just cut off its water supply. A simple, devastatingly smart move that forced them to surrender and brought the whole region under his control. So he's conquered Ladakh, he's conquered Baltistan. What's next? Well, Zorawar Singh turned his eyes to his final, most ambitious, and, as it turns out, tragic campaign, the vast high plateau of Tibet itself. And the goal here was just immense. He wasn't just trying to grab a little territory, he wanted to conquer all of Western Tibet. This was driven by strategy and trade, sure, but there was also this deep cultural and spiritual ambition. He wanted to reach the sacred sites of Mount Kailash and Lake Mansarovar. This one number, it says everything you need to know, -40 degrees Celsius. At those temperatures, your main enemy isn't the guy with the sword. It's the cold, it's the wind, it's the ice. It is a constant, minute-by-minute battle just to stay alive. And, at first it was a wild success. His army moved with lightning speed, capturing this huge stretch of land. But then, the Himalayan winter hit with its full, terrifying force. Supplies ran out. Men were getting frostbite, they were starving, and it was right at that moment when they were at their absolute weakest that a huge, combined Sino-Tibetan army decided to strike, surrounding his exhausted forces. So he's facing certain defeat at the Battle of Toyo. It's December 12th, 1841, and these are the defiant words Zorawar Singh supposedly said. Even with everything lost, his spirit was just unbreakable. He was never going to be taken alive. A powerful legend actually grew up around his death. His enemies respected him so much that they created this story that he couldn't be killed by a normal bullet. It had to be a golden one. The reality, though, is just as heroic. He was shot, but he kept on fighting, only falling after being struck down with a lance in the heat of battle. But here's the thing. His death was not the end of his story. Not even close. To really understand why this general's actions from the 1800s still have a huge impact today, we have to look at what happened right after he fell. So even though his last campaign ended in defeat, the whole conflict forced everyone to the negotiating table. The result was the Treaty of Chushul in 1842, which formally drew the boundary between Ladakh and Tibet. And this wasn't just some line on an old map. It's the foundation for borders that are still geopolitically critical and contested to this very day. So when you boil it all down, his legacy is just huge. First, he literally drew the map for India's northern frontiers. Second, he basically wrote the book on high-altitude warfare. His tactics are still studied. Third, and this is amazing, he earned the deep, lasting respect of his enemies. And finally, his name is still a powerful symbol for the soldiers who guard those very mountains right now. Now, this might be the most incredible part of the whole story. His Tibetan adversaries, the very people he fought against, they built a monument for him right where he died. And local legend says that pregnant Tibetan women would actually visit it, praying that their children would be born with the same incredible courage as the fallen warrior. And that brings us right back to the beginning. The reason that new, advanced tank is called the Zorawar is because it's a direct tribute to the original master of high-altitude warfare. It's a name that means courage, it means brilliant strategy, and it means winning in the harshest conditions on Earth. It really leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? General Zorawar Singh's story was almost totally lost to popular history, but his actions literally shaped the map of a nation. It just makes you wonder, how many other incredible stories like his are still out there, just waiting to completely change the way we see the past?